An hour into the opening game of World Cup 2022, a persistent clapping broke out in Block 143 at the Al Bayt Stadium. It started with a line of 7 men all wearing the traditional white thobe, and before long the 5 rows in front joined in, perhaps 40 people in total. It never expanded from there, but continued for at least 10 minutes. It gradually became clear that the fans were clapping along with the seconds on the clock. Is this what passes for fun when the only beer available is Bud Zero? Was this the worst opening match at a World Cup finals? It was certainly a contender, and the match stats were damning. The 11 shots in the game, 5 for Qatar, 6 for Ecuador, were the fewest of any World Cup game since records began in 1966. The optimistic pre-tournament talk had cast Qatar's maize-reared manager Felix Sanchez as the man who would deliver competitive tiki-taka to the hosts. As this game approached, some of that hopefulness crystallized into expectation. Qatar are Asian champions. The referees would surely be in their favor. Hosts always overperform. Not on this evidence. Predictably, the match did not sound like a European game. There was misguided applause for an agricultural clearing of lines, and a big cheer for a block from Abdulkarim Hassan as Gonzalo Plata looked to breeze past. Behind the goal, a whole block of Qatari quasi-ultras dressed mostly in their team's maroon were having a well-coordinated disco. That block had been empty during the opening ceremony. Mischievously, you might wonder if its dancers had traded leotards for football shirts at its conclusion and were now being paid overtime. More traditional expressions of football fandom were on show if you looked around the concourses. You would have to be extremely hard-hearted not to respond to the faces of children wearing that unique football-attending mix of emotions, thrilled and slightly frightened. This is the soppy stuff at the heart of Gianni Infantino's misguided ideas about the power of the sport, but any hopes of the hosts going on a fairy tale run were tempered early. Qataris rose dazed after tackles, looking like they had just taken their first shot to the chin after moving up a weight class. Their great hope up front, Akram Afif, was dropping ridiculously deep to get on the ball, and his team were 2 goals down after 31 minutes, both beautifully taken by Inter Valencia. Certain tournament truisms remain indestructible. One is you won't go far without a solid keeper. Saad Al-Sheib does not look like that guy. He gave away a penalty and flapped horribly in the build-up to what seemed like the opening goal, but it was overturned via VAR. Michael Estrada offside by a tiny margin. Estrada needs to do something about his toenails, because it was very tight, said his manager Gustavo Alfaro, and so the tedium unfolded. One dreadful shot from Hassan might actually have ended up 26 rows back, i.e. row Z. The ultras were game, but had little to rhythmically clap, aside from Elmoaz Ali nearly connecting with a header towards the end of the first half. Half-time gave a chance to come again. "Let's make some noise," screeched the enthusiastic stadium announcer. Little was forthcoming. "Come on, you can do better than that," he pleaded. There was no appreciable difference to the manufacture of noise. Tough crowd. The people here did not look like those riding the newly built metro, with far more in the thobe than anywhere else across the city. Perhaps there was a sense of disbelief that their team, who they know are capable of more, were making such heavy work of a match they have spent 12 years preparing for. Captain Hassan Al-Haydos tried to get them going in the tunnel, but looked like a reluctant team leader on an apprentice task going south. After the break, Ecuador expertly killed off the game as living entity. Generously, the Qatari fans were slow back to their seats. As the half wore on, it became clear that many would not be returning. Even the ultras had significantly thinned in number. "This team can perform better," Qatar manager Felix Sanchez claimed he had been too busy to notice. "Truth be told, I had enough work during the game," he said. "We felt backed and supported by our fans. We hope for the next game people will be able to feel prouder. They know this team can perform better and they will support us until the end. We are sorry because we couldn't contribute to this great atmosphere, to this party. It became a match played out before empty seats in the apathetic stillness of the desert. The eager announcer returned to trumpet an attendance of 67,372. No more than half were left by then, even fewer saw Qatar's best attempt, sub Mohamed Muntari lashing just over. At the final whistle, Qatar fullback Homam Ahmed was stationed on the touchline. He put his hands on his thighs and knelt over the Adidas Al Rihla ball, peering at it for 30 seconds. All this wait, all this preparation, and this is how he felt after the first night. Coming back to himself, he walked back towards his teammates. He left the ball behind. The message from Infantino and other key stakeholders in this dubious tournament has been clear: concentrate on the football. After this, Qatar fans will be asking, do we have to?